Guys, hello and welcome to Skycurser Daily number 23, where it is our goal to put you in the cockpit of the world's most advanced fighter jet. Today we've got a good agenda lined up. Guys, hello and welcome. And of course I gotta mute the stream. So the agenda for today is to watch specifically R-Type. Yesterday we watched Mars Matrix on the top 25 shmups of all time. This is put on by the team at system11.org, shmups.system11.org. They do an annual survey, and it looks like they've been doing it since about '02. And they basically rank the top 25 shmups of all time each year. And then they have, beyond the top 25, they have some shmups that are honorable mention. So the reason why we're going to be watching number 14, if you saw us a couple of streams ago, we were watching number 25, and then yesterday's stream we watched number 16, Mars Matrix, and today we're going to be watching R-Type. Back to the reason why. The reason why is because we have put together a list of the top 25, and it's basically a playlist of the top 25 shmups of all time according to this exact playlist found on shmups.system11.org. And the videos are in reverse order, so you can watch the playthrough of each one of them if you want. 25 through 1, and it'll just autoplay its way on through. But we received express written permission from the team at World of Long Plays to show any of the shmups on this playlist that are their shmups, that are their videos. So I'm still waiting to hear back from some of the other people that I've reached out to. And of course, there's a list probably of 10 to 12 people. But the good news is that we have heard back from World of Long Plays. So who is World of Long Plays? Well, they have a YouTube channel, and basically it seems that many players can upload their video and let it be seen under the World of Long Plays brand. But it basically showcases a player as they play through a specific game, and usually the game playthrough is by a player who's been playing the game for a while, so they're able to get through it either quickly or show a lot of different tricks or skill in the game. Additionally, their website is longplays.org, and you can go here, participate in the forum, catch some of the playthroughs that you want to watch. You can see some walkthroughs, and you can just kind of have a little bit of nostalgia while you're watching through the all the different videos that have been uploaded there. But since we are creating a shmup here, we are creating Skycurser, and we thought it pertinent. I specifically thought it pertinent to do a little bit of research myself, since I'm the guy programming it. It became pretty apparent at MGC after talking to a lot of people that it would be really good to just kind of brush up on all the different shmups. The reason for this, I basically had tons of different people walk up and say, this shoot 'em up reminds me exactly of fill in the blank, and they would just basically say a shmup that I had really never heard of before. Now, there's 3 of us working on this particular game for Skycurser. There's Phil, Chris, and myself. Phil's the hardware guy, Chris is the sound and art guy, and I'm the developer. So the thing about it is, those 2 guys, they know a lot of these shmups. They're very familiar with them, and they can hold a good conversation around it. But me not knowing a lot about these shmups, I wanted to do my research and be able to have some good conversations, specifically think back on some of the ones that I've seen in the past. But I thought I'd take you guys along as I do my research, so that you guys can also just kind of gain, hopefully, if you don't already have one, gain an appreciation for some of the top shmups out there. again, it kind of fits right in with what we're doing. So as soon as we're finished with this, we're going to move back over to what we were working on last night. Yesterday we got the background of level 2. I just got all the assets, and we got pretty far on it. We put together basically a parallax scrolling of the background for level 2, and it looks really good up to this point. So we're in a good spot, and we're just going to pick right back up where we left off. We've got a few more things to fix. I think some things are going to be slowed way down. We had a bug at the end of the day, or at the end of the night, where one of the backgrounds was doing some weird scaling that I wasn't performing on it. I figured out what the problem to that was, so I want to make sure that I come back and address that with you guys so you can see how I addressed it. And additionally, we got to work out the street light. So I think the street light is probably actually going to take the most time and will get us through the end of the stream today. So without further ado, let's thank the guys at World of Long Plays and watch R-Type, which again is number 14 on the top 25 shmups of all time. So again, in reverse order here, though, it shows at number 12. And before I get started, it looks like the player is T0815, T-0815. So yeah, we're watching a video by player T-0815 submitted to longplays.net. See this. Of course, we're on longplays.org. Let me see longplays.net. Yeah, looks like they have a park domain. When I click there, yeah. So we were on the right. We were on the right website. Of course, it was the same exact banner, but I was just wondering what longplays.net was because I was demonstrating longplays.org. So here we go. R-Type. Yeah, let's make sure we can hear this because I cannot hear this at the moment. There it is. What up, what up? Astra 6. I'm going to turn this down slightly. So this is a classic I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with. This is one of the few that I was familiar with. I definitely got to play this growing up. Something that strikes me about this one, similar to last night, I pulled up Wikipedia, and I'm going to just kind of mention some things as we're watching the playthrough here. Playthrough is only 20 minutes, that's good. But something that strikes me comparatively to the other two that we've seen up to this point is just kind of really how seemingly slow this one is, especially kind of getting ramped up. It looks nice. The background looks good. The enemies look good. Specifically, I think this was created in 1987. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page. It's a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up arcade game, as is obvious here. Produced by a company named IREM, I-R-E-M, in 1987. The R9 is the name of the space fighter, and we're basically fighting against a powerful alien life form known as the Bydo, B-Y-D-O. So let's see how many levels there are. Of course, there were several ports from arcade. I don't see exactly how many levels there are right off the bat. I'm sure if I hopped off onto one of these other websites, I could see it. That enemy seems really simple. I like the upgrades they have here. They're unique from everything I've seen up to this point. So specifically the ports. A fairly accurate port of R-Type was released to the PC Engine and TurboGrafx 16 consoles. So the release for the PC Engine, the Japanese one at least, was split into two different cards, R-Type 1 and R-Type 2. And when it came out on TurboGrafx 16, it was on only one card. Again, looking at Wikipedia, only one game card, that is. So it came out all as one game. Huh. There was an unlicensed port by a company called Magic Series Core in China, and they named it Magic Dragon. Interesting. Oh, I guess in that particular port, the level design and music were were basically the same as the original, but most of the graphics were redone from scratch. That's pretty amazing. Wow, look at this enemy. Looks like a big heart. Been so long since I played this game. I do not remember these. I don't remember everything. It's an interesting place to sit. I mean, obviously the player looks like he can't really be harmed. It looks like maybe a couple times, but again, I mean the enemies are so slow moving. It seems like it would be fairly easy to stay alive in this game. So stage 2, it's into stage 2. And you know, that's the thing about this game. I think the enemy design is really good. I think the ship design is good. I think the weapons are good. But I just wish that everything was faster. It feels like it's too easy. And maybe if I was playing it, it wouldn't feel so easy, but I mean, it looks real. I look at these weapons. I mean, if you've got land beneath you on a side-scrolling shmup, why not let a weapon go along land? Same as, you know, above. Like, why not let the weapon go on the ship? So, I mean, I guess it makes perfect sense to me. Looks like basically you choose one side or the other. You can't really go top and bottom. I wonder if he'll be able to fight the top as well now. Yeah, it looks like it's switching sides. So now the ship looks like it's going to speed up and catch up. And he's basically fighting the other side now. It's interesting. Somehow he changed the weapon to go the reverse direction. So I'm not sure if the game just automatically did that, or if that was a decision the player could make. Very slow compared to last night's, but I think it's most likely the year it was made, unless it picks up later levels. Last night was all in right off the bat. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's the exact same way. Let me see what the other game was while we're just kind of watching here. Dodonpachi was. Like, it was right, I mean, like, right off the bat, the player was in, and they had, like, upgrades almost instantaneously that looked like they were almost the full upgrades, and enemies were flying all over the place at the player. So yeah, I agree. Kind of interested to go to some of these other levels really quick. I'm not levels, but websites. I'm going to go to the. I'll look at R-Type series on DMOS. I'm going to look at R-Type. Well, I don't really need to look at R-Type mobile. Interesting. It came out like on a BlackBerry on R-Type mobile. This looks kind of difficult. I like the way, man, I like the way he's throwing that weapon out in front. That looks sweet. And it looks like he can use those other sub-weapons to clear a path. That's one thing we could definitely do in our shmup. Oh, it looks like he can turn the weapons and make them go in reverse. I think if those orbs are out in front of him. Oh, no. He flipped the, yeah, he flipped the main weapon to the back of the ship. That's what he did. Looking at DMOS for a second. Yeah, nothing real great on there, nothing crazy. Yeah, that's one thing. I was getting ready to say that's one thing we could do on ours is to have some sort of, you know, obstacle that the player has to clear out as they're moving forward. I've seen that in a lot of different shmups. So this looks like, I think this is level 4. I think that was the end of level 3. Hey, babe. Yeah, so far 4 levels. I don't know what difficulty this is played on. Doesn't look like anything in particular that is too difficult. I don't know if the arcade port came out with multiple levels of difficulty. Interesting how the player can run right into those obstacles up above. I guess I thought that he would have blown up immediately, but that's not the case. Just kind of background. Creative explosions. I mean, if you're talking, since we're talking basically about pixel art here, they're almost all similar, depending on what, you know, depending on what the size is. They're basically the same. If the same sizes have the same explosions, doesn't look like there's a lot of variety there. Oh man, it would be so awesome if that boss like threw those, I don't even know what those things are, threw them at the player a lot quicker. So I guess that was the end of stage 5 and not stage 4. So now we're on stage 6. Interesting how the player has like this cooldown on the beam. I wonder if it's just that whenever he doesn't shoot, if it just charges up. I think maybe we saw it once or twice. This one, I like this. I mean, again, a sideways scrolling shmup. I love the platforms that appear. I love the fact that the player has to do some dodging in that regard. That's maybe one thing we could do to add to some of the difficulty, like I mentioned a minute ago, basically. Seems like, you know, depending on what level they're on, there's not a ton of enemies per level. It's very much that the enemies are used over and over again on the level. Not, you know, like I said, not a ton, as opposed to what we saw last night where when we were watching Mars Matrix, that there were a ton of different enemies, like even from the get-go, level 1. A ton of different enemies on every single level. And the other thing about this is it looks like, you know, if you get the pattern, the patterns look very basic. They do not look super difficult. If you can get the pattern, you basically have no problem staying alive. As opposed to, you know, like everything else that we saw where everything else is basically bullet hell. This kind of makes me want to go back and see kind of when the bullet hell genre originated. Because I wouldn't exactly call this bullet hell, especially compared to some of the ones we saw. The player is taking great care to make sure they're not touching any of the obstacles, any of the barriers up or down, the walls, or anything. And it looks to me like if they collide with one of those, that they would definitely die. But of course, we're not seeing that. So if you're just joining us, or if you're just tuning in, either here on the stream or when you're watching this later on YouTube, we're watching one of the top 25 shmups of all time, specifically number 14 of the top 25 shmups of all time, as rated by shmups.system11.org. This is their 2014 report, and they've been doing a survey for the top 25 shmups of all time since 2002. And this one in particular, since we're building a shmup, we're just doing a little bit of research and just trying to educate ourselves and hopefully gain an appreciation for even more shmups. Basically on as many shmups as we can watch as we're building our shmup, Skycurser. So thanks for joining us if you're in here. This one looks pretty difficult, except for the fact that the player can basically sit down here at the bottom, and I mean, if you didn't know that, it looks like it would be difficult. But again, a simple, you know, a little bit of trickery, and player can't really be hurt. Interesting. Might be it. Looks like maybe one more level. You know, here's the thing: is even though there aren't like the levels aren't extremely difficult and the speed is not extremely fast, at least they have a lot of levels. So you know, we're on level 8 now. At least there was a lot of good opportunity to play through. And for 1987, I mean, come on, this is really good. I would guess that perhaps Scramble was one of the very first shmups. I played that like crazy when I was a kid at the arcades. Scramble shmup. Let's look that up. Yeah, I almost want to go back now and just... I'm sure somebody's got a list of shmups and when they came out, what year they came out. Looking for Wikipedia. Oh, I actually saw it right on the front page of Google. 1981, man. That's awesome. 1981. I was born that year. Tell you how old I am. Not exactly sure what happened. I was kind of looking something up. Did the player lose their weapon here, or looks like they did? Their main weapon. Phil, what's up? One of my all-time fave games. Nice. Thanks to your brave fighting, the cosmos restored peace. The Bide Empire was annihilated to never scare people again. Your name will remain in the universe forever. Thank you for playing the game to the end. Staff of Irem. That's a cool name. I like the name of the company. Phil drinking wine. So Phil's in the room. Phil is one of the other indie devs on this project. So good to have Phil in here. Yeah, I think Gradius 5 is actually on the list of top 25 shmups, so hopefully we get to watch that at some point in the near future. And that's actually the next one, number 13. Hopefully I can get some permission or find one from World of Long Plays to watch. Okay, so that was good. Learned a little bit about R-Type. Need to go in, dive in, and do some more, a little bit more research, because there's a lot there. With each one of these games, there's a lot there. Yeah, you could go on forever with this stuff. Okay. Now, Phil, glad you're on stream. If you want, you can hit me up on Skype, but feel no pressure on that. Okay. So where were we? Let's go ahead and just kind of pick up where we left off. I'm going to change something back to the way it was before I fixed it. Again, remember we had a bug at the end of the stream that was minor, but it was causing an issue with one of the sprites to be scaled incorrectly. Specifically, it was affecting sprite level 2, sprite background 3. And it's this very long background. It's just a cityscape, basically. Fun, fun. Bat's a gun. Fun, fun, fun. You're my Bat's a gun girl. Nice, Phil. Should get Chris to produce it. And create this, and create the beat for it. Anyway, pumped for that long play. All right, so no. So we're looking at the width here. Specifically, the width is at 3,000 on this sprite. Let's look at all the other ones for level 2. They're much shorter. This one's at 687. This one is at same 687. This one is the light post. It's definitely very short, 66. I didn't mean to do that. Put it to 0, 0. Let's just not save. Close it. It shouldn't save it. Let me make sure it didn't save anything, even though I selected it. I've noticed GameMaker is a little bit buggy sometimes, like that. Okay, this guy right here, 667. This guy right here, 620. And this guy right here, 891. So Chris's goal was really to take this one right here, the one that's like a fairly close layer of buildings, and make it repeat as few times as possible. And of course, there has to be a limit in there somewhere. I mean, literally, Chris drew a picture that was 3,000 pixels wide and drew every building on only this sprite, pixel for pixel. So, pretty amazing work. But what I discovered, and I'll show this bug to you right now, what I discovered is that the width could not be handled by my current size of texture pages. So I'll show that to you in a minute, but let's just hop in game here in a second. And first compile of the night usually takes the longest. We've seen this a lot, so it'll take a minute here for everything to save and get moving here. So give us about half a minute to a minute. But yeah, we're in a real good place. I think what I'm going to do is slow some of these sprites down so they move by a little bit slower. We'll see, because right now they're moving by pretty quick. And then the next thing I want to do is fix the street light. So here's that line that Chris was talking about yesterday. He thought he saw a warning when it was compiling, and he did. Resource sprite background 3.0 rescaled from 2993 to 1496. So I found this eventually when I hopped off stream, and then did a little bit of research on it, and I'll show you how to fix that if you run into something like that.
Skycurser.
So here we are. This is what we have so far. Notice the layer right behind the second concrete barrier, the one that I was just showing you, looks real fuzzy, looks really kind of off, and this is what we're going to fix. So everything looks good. Everything is repeating as it should. Doesn't look bad as it repeats. It's connected pretty well. So I like kind of where that's sitting at. Okay, so that layer, sprite background 3, the problem with it is that it's wider than than the size of my texture page. So let's one more time look at the size of it. 3,000 pixels wide, right? And I got to reading and found out that there's an option in global game settings under go to Windows, and then choose this second, you'll be on general, choose the second option for graphics, and there's this option for texture pages. The size of the texture page cannot be smaller than the width of any of your sprites. If it is, then the game automatically rescales that sprite so it fits on screen. So all I had to do really was change this guy right here from 2048 to 4096. Now 4096 is obviously larger than the 3000 pixels wide, and we should be in good shape there. Let's just go. I want to look at something real quick on this, and had an idea about that. I'm wondering if the texture page is basically considered this area back here. I'm not entirely sure, but nonetheless, let me just, no, don't want to do that. Anyways, just thought I would try and see if I could see the size of the texture page here. I'm thinking, yeah, I can't really tell because I'm pretty sure this guy just goes on. And my cursor right all the way over here is at 896. So if it is considered what I have to work with in this little window right here, I can't really find out. Um, so that was just my hunch, was that, of course the room size says 1024. So that might actually be the size of the room. This is a port inside of the room. Right now it's at 1024, the view in the room. So doesn't quite have to do with the texture page. Just trying to educate myself as I move along here. But let's go back in game now. This bug should be fixed. It shouldn't look as bad as it did. Phil, no, I don't need a second monitor right now. I think we could probably do one later. So, all right, going back in game. And now it's stopped on the texture page. That's what the T page there refers to, the texture page that I just modified. And you probably can't see that like I can. I'm watching the compile window here, and I think it was covered up by the bar at the bottom of the screen, but I'm looking at this guy right here. All right, should see an update. Boom. Fix that bug. So that one is nailed, and looks like a decent amount of time goes by before we see a repeat on those buildings in the front. And I think that occasional freeze is coming from the, yeah, I see it's freezing periodically. I think that's coming from the light post. So yeah, I think that that occasional freeze is coming from the light post. I know it gets really loud when I go in game. It's because the music is kind of turned up quite a bit. So sorry if I repeat myself, but I just want to make sure you heard what I was thinking. Alright, so that bug is nailed. If GameMaker is rescaling a sprite on you automatically, it likely means that you have a sprite that is larger than the size of your texture page. So go update the size of your texture page, and that should fix that problem. Now, to the real work, the work that's probably going to take the most. And probably the part that I'm most excited about, actually, for this stream is going to be working on that light post, because I think once we get that light post, it's going to look really good. Really good. But we're going to have to figure some things out first. So let's start with, I want to look at the size of the distance between those, basically the lights on the ground, the light graphics on the ground. So I'm talking this section versus this section versus this section. What's the distance between these? My width is 687 on this. I'm wondering if I can determine size. Let me check something. So I was basically looking for like some sort of measuring tool that Game Maker would have, but I don't see one. I don't normally come in here to edit the images, mainly because I'm not the image guy normally, but I may be able to figure this out by doing a crop. No, I don't want to do that. Not sure how that's going to work. Okay, the other way we can figure this out is to just run some tests. In game, to me, they look like they're probably, if this is the size of the entire image, divide this up into about 7 pieces, so they're probably about, and about only this much can fit on screen. The screen is 320 wide, divide that by 4, that's about 80 pixels. So that's going to be my guess, is that they're 80 pixels apart. Now the other thing that we have to do is get the light post to go not just from where it's originating from right now, but to get it to go all the way across the screen. So this one is the one that's going to be originating in a weird place. And we're going to originate it multiple times. So let's go look at the controllers, specifically the background for level 2, and look at where we create this instance. Specifically the lamppost object background 2. We associated that sprite with an object of almost the exact same name. It's object background 2. And hey Chris, what's going on, man? So yeah, we got the whole team here, guys. It's me, Chris, Phil. All three of us are the 3 indie devs working on Skycurser. And if you're joining us, thanks so much for joining us. And yeah, I got the full team here tonight. It's awesome. What up, son? So we're starting. This one is the only one that's a little bit in sort of a weird position, where it's starting at the x position of 0 when it should probably not be starting at the x position of 0. It should really be starting at the x position of room width. Now, why do I choose room width? Basically, the room width we know because we set the size of the room is at 320 by 240. That's basically the size of the stage. So let me see if I can show that off. Right here it is, 320 by 240. 320 is Game Maker then sets the room width to this variable. So that room width variable that I'm using here is basically a Game Maker set variable. If my room was 480 pixels wide, it would be this variable would be set to 480. So since this is 320, my X position is going to be starting at 320, and my Y position is still going to be at 0, which is perfect. Now we have to address in the step event. Oh, and let me show you why this is, before I get into the step event, let me show you why that's going to work correctly. Because my point of origin is at a position of 0 for the X and 0 for the Y axis. 0 for the Y because the height of it is 240, and Chris, obviously did some measurement while he was building it out, and basically set it right in the correct position where it should be. Nice. I don't know if it's Batsugan or Batsagun, but apparently Phil, yeah, that shows my limited knowledge of the long plays in the arcade games. So can't wait to watch it either. Okay, so still looking at this here. My X position is at 0. So basically what's going to happen is if I put, let's say this little pretend square is the size of the room, and let's say that this pretend square is 320 wide. Well, since my X position is at 0, that means this lamppost will start off screen, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. So what we'll do is also we'll take note of the exact center of the the width of this image. The exact center is going to be 33. So we can see that by me setting this to 33. If I set this to 120, we can see now this crosshair show up right in the middle of the lamp post. Well, I'm not going to change the Y position, so the crosshair hops back up to the top. And also, I'm going to take this back down to 0. But now I know that once the X position of that background hits 33, then that lamppost is going to be on screen, or it might even be on screen like literally right before that, because it might be at like position 32 or something. This lamppost, as I go through the sprites, notice it turns back and forth. We're doing this to give you the perception that you're passing it fairly quickly, and give you a little bit of it's not really depth perception, but just give you some perception that you're passing it. So I think we're good there. I think basically that makes sense. If you're watching and something still isn't making sense, please ask the question, because I want to make sure that you understand it. Okay, so let's go ahead and label these guys too, so that we're perfectly clear with what they are. So this is concrete barrier. We'll call this front concrete barrier. Let's just name these similar to what we have in the create event. I don't want to necessarily rename these. Concrete barrier closest. Whoops. Windows and Game Maker is horrible. Okay, concrete barrier closest, street, and concrete barrier for the second one. Next one is going to be lamppost. That's our lamppost. I'm just trying to do this so that I don't have to constantly think, what does object, background 2 match up with? Instead, I can just kind of look at the notes and just, get rolling as soon as possible. I may pull this out. If I get far enough with the lamppost, I may again try pulling this out to a script tonight, but not top priority for me at the moment, because once I get it, it won't be hard. It won't be too difficult. I won't have to spend too much time on it to pull it out into a script like we tried to do last night. Alright, concrete barrier, closest street and concrete barrier, lampposts, near buildings, mid buildings, far buildings, and sky. Okay, so the lamppost, we're basically going to say, instead of less than or equal to 0, we're going to say less than or equal to 66. Let me think about that for a second. No, that's not correct. Less than or equal to room width minus 80. How did I get those two wildly different numbers? I was thinking 66 because that was the width of the image, and I was thinking, okay, I just want another one to come on as soon as that image is fully on the screen. Well, that's not correct. We also need to say room width minus whatever the distance between the two that we want to have actually is. So I'm going to say room width minus 80 there, and I'm going to make sure that this guy kind of evaluates to itself altogether, not just forcing it to with the parentheses. But when I say room width, that's 320 minus 80. So as soon as it drops below 240, 320 minus 80 is 240. As soon as the X position drops below 240 for the lamppost, another lamppost is going to get generated and come on screen. And I might actually do it a little bit different because we want the distance to be exactly, let me think about this for a second. X position will be there, and we want these to be about 80 pixels apart. I'm thinking that we need to also add or subtract from that 80 so that it's 80 minus 33 off the top of my head. And I'm just going to do this a little bit different than this in case we ever change the size of the sprite. I still want it to be the center of the sprite. And so I'll say background 2 dot sprite width divided by 2. So basically, let's think about this. What's gonna happen here exactly? So background 2 dot sprite width is a 66. Remember how we saw that earlier with the lamppost? The size of the sprite is 66. We're going to divide that by 2 to get 33, the exact center of the post, right? And we're going to say 80 minus 33 will actually be 47, 33, 80, yeah. So it's going to be 47. So when room width minus 47, let's do that math real quick. 320 minus, let's just do 320 minus 47 in our heads. That'd be 273 plus 47. Yeah, 273. So it's going to be, when it's less than or equal to 273, then generate the next image. Here's why, is because the X position of that image is at 0, 0, but the lamppost doesn't actually occur until, it doesn't actually come on screen until 33 pixels, 33 pixels in, once the image is basically already, has been on screen for a minute. You don't actually see the lamppost until about 33 pixels in. So this is kind of why we had to do this little trickery on the math. Yeah, we want it to be 80 pixels apart, but the only way we can ensure that it's going to be 80 pixels apart is to do this little piece of math right here. Determine the size of the sprite, what's the exact center where the lamppost is going to show up. Basically at this point, when it hits, what did we say, 273, then it's going to generate the next lamppost only 47 pixels away, but it will add, if you add 33 to that, you're going to get your total of 80. 33 is when that next lamppost shows up on screen. So, it's kind of the thing that you have to think about with your points of origin. Do you have to do any crazy math with it? It's nice to have a point of origin at 0, 0 whenever possible, but every once in a while, if it's not right in the center of the image, you might have to do a little bit of crazy math like this. So background 2.x less than or equal to room width minus 80 minus sprite width divided by 2. I think that is correct. Let me make sure my parentheses are correct here. Boom. That guy's with that one. That guy's with that one. That is incorrect. There's something missing here. I think we got to force one right here. And yeah, that's correct, and that's correct. Okay. Lots of the parentheses are probably a little bit of overkill. We learned in high school and college PEMDAS, right? The order of operations that gets executed first. Was it parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction? So theoretically, I could probably do some better things here to just kind of have less parentheses, but I'm just basically guaranteeing that things are going to happen in the order that I would like them to happen. So, all right, I think that's going to be good. Less than or equal to that, duplicated, set it to true, set it on its course, speed, direction, and depth. And that should go all the way across screen. Yeah, that should go all the way across screen because of where we're generating it at. Actually, I need to look at that one more time to make sure that is correct. Room, background, level 2, step event. And we wanted to check the X position. So this is going to be incorrect. I'm glad I checked. Let's go room width minus 5. So with all the other ones, we did basically the sprite width minus 5 because all the other ones are basically like solid strips of background, and the lamppost is not a solid strip of background. We basically just want it to generate, and room width minus 5, we don't need the minus 5 on there. The minus 5 was just mainly to keep the strips connected together, because basically at the speed that they're going at, they were coming on screen partially separated. And so we wanted to make sure that if you go -5, you basically close up that gap for the most part, and it basically addresses itself. But in this case, since they're all going to be completely separate, there's going to be no reason for them to be connected to each other. We don't have to go -5, and we don't want to set it to the sprite width, because the sprite width is only 66 pixels wide. We want it to be the room width. We want it to show up all the way at the end of the room when it comes on. So let's hit play again. See what we got. Should be good. See if we have any bugs. First and foremost. So if you're just joining us, we're working on the background for level 2. We just got all the assets. Chris, who's in chat right now, just got me all the assets, and we're just trying to make them look correct for level 2 for Skycurser. Phil is here as well. You got the whole indie dev team on Skycurser in chat right now. So if you have any questions for us, now's the time to ask. Still waiting for the compile. Phil, you're talking to China right now related to the motherboards.
Skycurser.
Oh yeah, we're in really good shape. Let me look at the spacing one more time. Of course, the sprite is going way too quick, and it's not at all behaving how I want it to yet. I'll control that. I'm not worried about that. I'm trying to get this the spacing correct right now on each of the lampposts. The spacing has to be such that the lamppost is basically right over the top of the lights on the street. So let's go check that one more time. Millen Wu. Any word on what Italian JAMA is? Found some cool stuff on them for the motherboards. Tight. Tell me about the motherboards. So it looks like to me those are not getting generated anywhere near as fast as I would like them to get generated. So let's go look at our controller for that. If the X position is less than or equal to this guy and it's not duplicated, then generate it. Room width -80. I mean, that's got to be right. There's a small market for JAMA-compatible boards in Italy that work with their electronic gambling machines. Nice. The Italians definitely did not get back to me. We were trying to find out if they would be a viable option for our game now. I think they're on siesta or something. Alright, let's just think through this for a second. The X position less than or equal to sprite width divided by 2, which ends up being 33. 80 minus 33 ends up being 47. 320 minus 240 minus 47 is 273. Less than or equal to 273. Maybe I had that incorrect. Maybe I don't need this extra guy right here. basically don't. Yeah, because I got a full surround. Maybe that was throwing it off. Let's work a little bit on this on the sprite index of that lamppost so that it looks correct when it passes. We can do this fairly quickly, so let's work on that really quick. Backgrounds, level 2, background 2. Let's say add a create event. Control, add some control in here. This is an object that inherits from its parent, object-based background. So let's make sure that we don't destroy the parent event, and we do that by declaring event inherited. If basically the way GameMaker works, if you have a parent object and the parent object has the same event as the child event overwrites the parent event unless the child event runs event inherited in much the same way that you would normally think about object inheritance. You would want to run whatever's in the parent event most of the time, and then that way we can keep whatever we've declared in the parent create event and then also add some additional pieces in only this child. So the other things that we wanted to add here were image speed equals 0. So what that should do, I'm gonna hit play on this. What that should do initially, I'm still not convinced these are gonna spawn fast enough where I want them to, but that's fine. I want to make sure that the lamppost does not move initially. So we'll check that here in a second. GameMaker just crapped out on me. What the heck? I don't think I closed that. So firing GameMaker back up. I thought I hit the play button. I must have accidentally hit the close button. GameMaker, where are you? Source control. Yes, I use Git, specifically Bitbucket. So I haven't shown a ton of that on screen. I do show it sometimes though, where basically have a Trello page and I basically, for the most part, I am the only developer working on this, so I don't have to be super incredibly diligent about making sure I'm checking in and checking out correctly with source control. But generally I try to check out a specific ticket and then commit it properly and just kind of go through the whole 9 yards. SVN to create a repo on my OneDrive. Git is incredible. Bitbucket allows you to do their setup for free. You can have 2 projects on there for free. I would highly recommend it. Git is a newer version of source control than SVN. I've used both Subversion and Git, and Git is touted to be multiple times faster than SVN. And SVN is fairly quick anyway, but it is touted to be very quick. Basically, the guy who created the Linux kernel also created Git, and he's extremely intelligent, and he's found really good ways to only transfer small bits of data and only what needs to be what has changed between each commit. So It's extremely fast. Yeah, Bitbucket is nice because you're basically pushing it to the cloud as well. If you have it on only your one drive, basically if you're Torvalds is the guy who created Git and has the one who has put the most work in on the Linux kernel. Linus Torvalds, I think his name is. But if you only have it on your single drive, then if your hard drive crashes, you may lose all your work. So I'd recommend at least getting it to the cloud if you're going to keep it on SVN. I've been meaning to check out Git, but we use SVN at work, so I'm familiar with it. Awesome. I wonder if it saved my change. Doesn't look like it saved my background change. Yeah, man, it just bounced out. Okay, back to this one more time. Create, drop in. I don't know what happened on that last time. Probably go back and watch afterwards to see like if I accidentally closed without realizing it. Event inherited, image speed equals 0. Save, play. Let's try this one more time because I'm expecting the lamppost not to be flying back and forth as it goes across the screen. It's basically just going through all of its sub-images on the sprite. And I want it to only stay on whatever image I want it to stay on, basically. And, as we go, I'll make sure the image changes properly. On that start screen where the shield and game name zoom in, is that using any tweening? How did you accomplish that effect? Chris? Chris did that, and no.
Skycurser.
Chris, you want to talk about it? Yes, there we go. Notice right now the lamppost is not flying back and forth as it goes across the screen. Looks like there is definitely about 4 that come on screen at once. And it almost looks like it's not respecting my update to the background controller. With this guy right here in particular. It's just not respecting this. I got to figure out what's going on there. I didn't think that I needed that, so I took that off. This was when it didn't save a minute ago. So I'll save that. I'm going to get out of this guy for a second, and I'm going to control this just a little bit. Step event. Okay, here's some other things that I'm going to do that I haven't done up to this point yet. I'm not going to put them in here, but in the base background object, I'm going to create let's create a step event. Step, and create a little bit of code. And this is basically, I could do some similar functionality with the drag and drop menu over here where you can basically say once the object is off screen, I think it's the event in particular is outside room. You could drop that in and then you could say destroy the object. But I'm going to do this a little bit manually and I'm going to write this via some code. Okay, so here we go. If, let's say, self.x, or let's just start with x. If x is less than or equal to sprite width, let's say 0 minus sprite width. 0 would basically be it has reached the left of the screen. Sprite width would be make sure you keep going until until the entire sprite is off screen. When you subtract, basically you're going to the left. So if I were to add, I mean basically I say less than, that ensures that I'm expecting the object to go left. When I say minus, I'm saying, well, the object will only go left if I send it left by X number of pixels, or I set a speed and a direction on it. All of these objects have a speed and a direction. All of the speed and direction are forcing them to go left. So the speed is greater than 0, which forces it to go in whatever direction is set to. Direction on all of these are 180. So they're all going to be going to the left. If X is less than or equal to 0 minus sprite width, then width self. My tabs have been messed up ever since I had to use an IDE the other day. With self instance destroy, I'm going to say self.id, and then I'm going to do one more check. If instance exists, self.id. This just makes sure that GameMaker doesn't try to destroy the object before it, well, if the object is somehow already destroyed, GameMaker doesn't try to destroy it again. We're in a step event, so we don't want it to run more than once. If instance exists, self.id, with self.id, instance destroy. I could force this and say self.x. I could say also self.spritewidth. Let's just do that for clarity's sake. And I think that should do it. This guy, though, I do want to also control. Here's the reason why we have to destroy everything when it gets off screen. When it gets off screen, it is only then taking up memory. If it's not ever coming back again on screen, we want to destroy it so that we're basically performing garbage collection and freeing up some of the memory for the game so that the game can continue to run fast. Comes off very well. I'm getting the urge to watch Tron. I saw that at the movies when it was originally released. Blew my mind. Did you see the new one? I haven't checked it out. Heard the soundtrack, but never saw the film. Phil, you should definitely watch it. It was good for sure. I liked it. There's always going to be haters out there who did not like it, but I thought it was really good. Step event, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to say if X is less than. Okay, so we're going to let's look at this sprite while we're working on this. The sprite is, I think, 9 images. Let's double check that. Backgrounds level 2. I keep wanting backgrounds to be below enemies, so I'm going to change this. Perfect. I feel like this is more accurate. My brain just keeps thinking it's in this position. So level 2, and then the sprite itself has 9 sub-images, and as it goes through all the sub-images, it basically turns from right all the way to left. So basically what our goal is going to be is to make sure that we're turning this at each point as it crosses the screen. We're basically going to split the screen up into 9 sections, and once the X position goes past a particular point on the screen, we're going to change the sub-image. So we do that with sprite index, the variable sprite index that GameMaker gives us. So we say if X minus, let's say X minus 33. No, I'm gonna say if X is less than or equal to. How glad I am to hear Brad talking about garbage collection. Manual garbage collection is so elite / painful. True programmer. Wow, we're lucky to have Brad. Thanks a lot, Phil. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Yep. Thanks, man. All right, X is less than or equal to. Let's say room width divided by 9 times 8. I've done this math before, and I think that's how it has to be. So let's say the room width is 320. I'm just gonna do some math here. Yeah, I'm gonna pull out my phone to do it. So let's do this. 8254. Room width 320 divided by 9 equals 35. That's 35 pixels wide. So again, the sprite is 9 images, and technically, I think this is a little bit easier than dividing it by 9. I think we'd have to divide it by 10 actually, because we want the sub image to basically be the sub image for, you know, a tenth of the screen. And if you have the screen divided up into 10 columns basically, then that leaves, let's see, if we divide it by 10, sometimes I have to do this on paper. I think that's going to leave 9. We say divided by 10, that's going to leave 9 columns. And then we say times 9. And I'm just going to we'll verify this. We'll play it to verify it. Room width divided by 10 times 9. Let's force this to be together. And let's say also, yeah, let's go ahead and say x minus 33 here. X, nope. I'm going to leave it alone for a minute. Let's just leave it alone first and say image index equals, I think what I want to do is I'm going to change that to minus 33, but we'll see. Image index equals 0. We'll actually change this to greater than or equal to, and then image index equals 0, else if x is greater than or equal to room width divided by 10 times 8. So this is the next layer over. Image index equals 1. So let's just duplicate this 7 more times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and just decrement this. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Can't multiply it times 0. Let me think about this. Yeah. Divided by 10 times 9, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, there's not an image index of 9. There's only an image index of 8. It only goes up to 0 through 8. Yeah, 8. So, the math was correct. Sweet. Okay. Let's see if that covers it. Play. All right. Waiting for the compile to finish now. Yeah, the CGI for him was pretty bad. I hope they get that figured out a little bit because they could have gotten the CGI quite a bit better. All right, here we go. Oh my gosh, that's pretty close, guys. Yeah. Okay, so the street lights are duplicating about twice as fast as they should be. Chris, do me a favor and tell me. So basically, we got the. In case you're wondering, we got the lamppost graphic pretty right on there. Chris, if you could tell me the distance between the center of each of those light sections on the street, that would be more helpful than me trying to troubleshoot what the distance is here by loading it up, because obviously I make one small change, I have to wait for an entire compile. So if you could tell me what the distance is between those, that would be very helpful. If you're still there. But while I'm waiting, I don't want to just sit here and wait for that. While I'm waiting, I'll just do some guesses and try to spread them out a little bit. Let me just look at this for a second. I'm debating taking this guy out and wondering if my math was a little bit incorrect. Let's try this. Let's try this one more time. Yeah, distance between post centers. Basically, distance between the centers of the lights on the street. Pixel distance. That would be helpful. You're going to be able to tell way quicker than I am. I mean, I could open up GIMP and check it out, but you're the one with Photoshop, so hook me up, dog. I'd say that's pretty close right there. Still, it looks like it needs to be a little bit wider. I'd say it looks like maybe about 83 or 84, maybe 85 pixels. And that's not it. Background level 2. I'm gonna try 85 pixels. So my math. So thinking about my math, it was incorrect. 85. And the other thing I have to do is make sure the lamppost. Aha, I'm also going to have to think about this immediately when you're on screen. So I'm going to need some lampposts in place immediately when the lamppost is on screen. So let's go to the controller, specifically the not the room controller, the background controller for level 2, and the create. I didn't mean to click OK. Man, I'm not clicking. Let's just click into it, and thinking that it's. So I'm going to need several lampposts at the very beginning. And I'm going to create sub lampposts basically. I'm going to create 3 more. 1, 2, 3. Lamppost 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to call this background to sub 1, sub 2, because I don't want this to interfere with what I've already written in the step event, sub 3. And just make sure all these properties of each one of these are correct. 85 pixels, called it. Thanks, Chris. Speed, direction, depth. Now we're going to put these at between each hotspot. Yes, perfect. Thank you. And then the last thing I'm going to do, room width. Here we go on our math again. Now this math I know will be correct. Room width divided by 4 times 3. Again, forcing everything to happen exactly how I want it to. Now this I can just go room width divided by 2. And this, let's see, this needed to be up here. X, paste. This guy needs to be up here, and this guy needs to be room width divided by 4. So divided by 4 times 3. If the room width is 320, we divide that by 4, we get 80, multiply it times 3, then we're at 240. And that's opposed to 120, which would be the very center of the screen. So we're past the very center of the screen. No, I said that incorrectly. 320. Here we go on the calculator real quick. 320 divided by 2 would be 160, and then your 240, let's say plus 80. 240 is right in the middle of 160. So I said 120 is the center. I was incorrect. 160 is the center, but that doesn't change this math though. This is still correct. Room width divided by 2, that's your 160, because the room width is 120. Room width divided by 4, that's your 80. So that will place them directly where they need to be. Now the other thing that we're going to do, I'm going to see if those images are going to just kind of self-correct immediately, or if I'm going to need to help them along, because I don't want to get into coding something that I don't have to do a lot of extra stuff for. So let's try this. Sorry guys, the bar and the webcam keep switching off. I have similar setups for when it switches over to Skycurser. When it switches to Skycurser, it doesn't always switch right back to to GameMaker when I'm out of Skycurser. So I kind of have some different scenes set up. The different scenes allow it to switch back and forth with the webcam and whatnot.
Scott.
Yeah. 85. So the problem is, this is good. That 85 still now seems to be a little bit too large. Even though Chris told me it was 85, I think I'm going to take it down like 1 or 2 pixels. So let's do that real quick. Background. Take it down 1 or 2 pixels. Let's just say 2 pixels. Oh, that was 3. Take it down 2 pixels from 85. So I was perfectly fine with where those street lights were, and they get adjusted immediately when they get on screen. We didn't have to wait for them to come in all the way from the right to the left. They were just there when the screen loaded. That was perfect. What else? What else? I feel like that's pretty close to being it. Oh, the other thing was they were not in position correctly when the screen loaded. So, Chris, one more thing I could have you tell me, which would be very helpful, is, oh, are you back? Okay, I think you're back because I see you posting in chat. My idea is, well, what I need from you is if you could measure the distance from the very left of the street image to the very first center of the first light, on the ground. That would be helpful. Because then once we get that position correct, everything should just if I put the street light in correctly, um, everything should just roll correctly from that point. So it's kind of sitting tight for Chris to get this. And I can already see that this guy's probably being generated in not the best place. He's getting generated, or sorry, this guy right here, he's getting generated all the way off screen, and I don't want him to be off screen. I basically want him to appear right where he should. So let's see, 37 pixels for the first one. Okay, that makes sense. All right, room width divided by 4. So room width divided by 4 is 80. We're going to subtract off of that then to get it down to 37. And that number that we subtract will be the same for all the other numbers. So room width divided by 4. Yep, sounds good, man. Yep, that's right. Perfect. Okay, room width divided by 4, 80, 37, 43. So let's just try a minus 43. Let's try to do it right there. Take this guy, put him in parentheses. And this guy's already in parentheses times 3. And then just do minus 43 right there. And this guy I can say room width, oops, minus 43. Let's try that. See how close this is. Oh yeah, that's pretty freaking close. So it's pretty close to being on all the time. I'm trying to determine if there's if any of the street lights are varying distances, or if the distance is always the same between each one of them. Oh snap. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure that the distance between each one is exactly the same. I'm not sure. Okay. No worries on that, Chris. If you, let me think. So you probably don't have, let me ask you this, Chris. Is it easy for you to move those, or are those distances, or sorry, are those lights on the street a different layer in Photoshop for you or not? Because if they're a different layer, then you could potentially make them the same distance apart. If they're not, we could just do some programming trickery to make sure that they're, correctly placed. Um, well, I mean, you don't have to do that, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, it's only that graphic is only like 687 pixels long. So what we could do is, I think there's probably what, like 8 or 9 of those lights on the ground. You just tell me the distance between each one of them, and I make sure that the spawn of each light happens at the right distance, if that makes sense. And then we just restart from the beginning again. Whenever we get to the end, we just make it, the counter would reset. So let's look at that. That particular sprite looks to me like it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to give them to me right now, that's fine. I'll write them down. I don't know that I can do that. I don't know that I can whip this up right now. I think I'm running short on time, and I'm gonna have to cut out. But a couple things I wanted to do was to slow down the further layers, the layers that are further back. So let me do that. Where is what's this guy doing? Okay. Closest, I'm okay with 8, 6. Let's change this to 1, change this to 0.5, and change this to 0.1. So that should make them go by way slower. The near building is still going to be 3. That's fine. Let's make it 2. See if that looks bad or not. I think I may make these things go by even maybe a little bit quicker and see if that doesn't take away from anything that happens with the street lights. It's okay to have everything go by really quick up close. I think it should. Let's hit play on that. Okay, here we go.
Scott.
So we can't even, well, I think it's fine the way it is. I was going to say we can't really tell that first concrete barrier is going faster than this street, but it doesn't necessarily have to either. Looks really good. It looks really good. Chris, what I might tell you is to either send me those via email or text me those the distances between all of the street lights, and also don't forget to give me the measurement between the last street light and the first street light. We know that the first street light from the edge of the screen to the center of the first light is 37 pixels, so I need the same measurement for the last street light. Is it like 37 pixels as well from there to the end of the graphic or not? So that's it, guys. A quick recap that we had today. We got to watch the playthrough of R-Type. Off the top of my head, I think there were 8 levels total. Pretty slow gameplay. It was created in 1987 and created by a company called Irem. And yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, I think most of us are familiar with it. It looked like not a lot of bullet hell. Looked like a lot of some obstacle dodging, some bullet dodging, some platform dodging. The enemies were fairly easy. It looked like if you knew the trick for for each particular enemy, then you could pretty much make it with no problem through killing the enemy and everything to do with that guy. So that was R-Type, and we'll see what the next one is for tomorrow. That was number 14 of the top 25 shmups of all time. After that, we got a chance to I got a chance to go back and show you how I fixed that sprite issue that was getting rescaled incorrectly. Basically, a recap on that: Game Maker, if you have a sprite that's wider than, and in this case we had a sprite that was 3,000 pixels wider than the size of my texture page for the platform I'm working on. The size of my texture page that I had was 2,048. I upped it one to like 4,096. And at that point, it's wider than the sprite, and there's no need for Game Maker to try to resize it to fit it inside of the texture page. So that fixed that problem, and then we have just been tweaking the city settings a little bit. We've been working on the lamppost. We've got it to a pretty good state. We're going to do some final measurements on it to make sure those light posts show up correctly right above each one of the lights on the street, and they don't move from there. Right now, it's not 100% because the distances between the center of each of the lights is not exactly the same. So we just got to find out the exact distances, and then we'll program that in. And then basically, we know there are 8 different lights, and we'll make sure that our incrementer that spawns these lights correctly knows exactly what distance from the last light that it should spawn that next light. So that'll be on the agenda for later, but I think we've got that to a pretty good state. I could probably start working on getting Skycurser in to level 2. It shouldn't be too hard, but there's probably some things that I can maybe pull out into scripts and such from level 1 to make sure I'm not duplicating any code, make sure I'm writing clean code as we go. Additionally, I can probably do one thing where I pull out some of the similar code in the step event for the background controller into a script and get that working correctly. So you might see that coming up here in a little bit. Other than that, that's it for today's stream. Our next stream, again, we're going to cover one of the top 25 shmups at the first part of the stream, and then we're going to continue working on level 2. So, guys, thanks for joining us. If you're joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please follow us on one or the other. Also, check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Tumblr. And we'll see you next time, guys.